Hi YouTube. Well, in case someone don't know, my name is Henning Kemner, also known as 2010 The Countdown or The Countdown Backup 2. As promised, I would like to refresh people's memory, those who already know about my work, and for those who has not heard about me before or just know a little. Here's a little about the truth about the Gulf oil spill. Yeah, there's a good reason for why I'm putting this picture as the beginning picture, because there is a big question about however this was an oil spill or something entirely different. And my job in this is to provide the evidence and the logic behind it, and also to make sure that you understand when you're done watching this that there were no talk about any kind of oil spill. And well, let's just get on with it and you will get the idea as long when we get along here. So that was the first frame. Now I got a lot of pictures I want to show you. I also got a little video sequences, and I want to show you some evidence too. So let's get on with it. So the next picture is that on the very day when the Deepwater Horizon exploded, and you know the rest of that story. Everybody know there was a Gulf oil spill. There was two fishermen sitting in their boat filming the whole incident, and they got this weird purple streak from the sky coming down towards the platform. There's actually two lines. In this picture there is only one. This is a screen capture. If you want the link for the actual capture, it will be below. I'll make sure you see it. And the reason why I'm showing this, you might say, well, this is a conspiracy and you promised. Yeah, I know, but here's the explanation for why I'm putting this in. And anyone with a little knowledge about plasma cutting in steel or in various metals, they know when you look at something like this, you see over here, this is where the explosion took place. This is where the tower for the drill rig, Deepwater Horizon, were until it blew up. But if you look around on the platform itself, this side of the platform is virtually undamaged. It's very clear, no damage. Yet, we got this discoloration on the heliport, and we got a hole. You can see the structure underneath. You can see this resembles what you're seeing over here, all the steel trusses and beams and pipes and whatever there is on the platform. But anyone with a little knowledge about what happens to steel when you superheat it, or especially when you use a plasma cutter, as one of the YouTubers pointed out, because he has experience with it, so do I. It does look like that. Your metal will be discolored. And this is the proof. Something, maybe that beam, don't know. I can't prove that because I was not sitting in space seeing it. I was actually just enjoying my life, and then it began, and then I began reporting on it. But you clearly see here, there is a damage. You can clearly see on the outline of this hole that this has been cut, something extremely hot. And if we are talking about plasma, which is the fourth state of matter, meaning anything that comes in contact with this plasma will be disintegrated. It will cease to exist. There will not even be a trace of it. It's gone. So, Deepwater Horizon ended on the seafloor, as planned. Let me see if I can make my mouse work as I want to. I don't like it's blinking. I don't know if you can see it's blinking, but I can. And it's pretty frustrating. Well, Deepwater horizon was placed here, and it's right next to a salt dome, which I will come to in a moment, and it's fairly close to an ancient mud asphalt volcano. There is still a little debate about whether this is an asphalt or a mud volcano, but I have a picture that clearly specifies that it is a volcano of asphalt, and that explains the tar balls washing up on the beaches in the Gulf Coast. There were oil, yes there were, but I'll get to why I believe this was a false flag oil spill. There were no oil spill in reality, but it made it look like it. But it did if you want my plain English, they did a piss-poor job in presenting whatever they wanted to present. Well, to begin with, BP top leased this area here called Macondo Well 252, or section. It has become known through BP Oil Disaster, who is also one of my heroes, a brilliant YouTuber, if you ask me. He called this Macondo Well 252 because it is in the drill section 252. But BP top leased in this field the right to drill, but they bottom leased, meaning they're allowed to drill inside this area, also in this area, but it's in this area they chose to drill next to the salt dome, and I will come to that. So this is the schematics, and these curved lines represent depths, and the closer they are, or this represents slopes. The closer they are, that means this is a steep slope, and the further away they are, the closer you are to the seafloor and more flat it becomes. That's what it illustrates. So here you see the rise and then the slope down to the seafloor. Next picture. And this is a picture from Google Earth of in more reality, if you like, more photographic look. And this is the place where they were top leasing, and down here that is the place where they were drilling. Again, right next to the Gloria Dome and fairly close to the volcano. I will also explain something about this volcano and why this volcano holds a great significance in all this, and I just learned that today. I was not thinking about that, but I just found out today. And what I found out I don't like at all. Gloria Dome is 50 miles wide. So you can pretty much see how wide is this dome from a volcano. Asphalt volcano, I will hold to say it is. But we were shown something else by the BP rover cameras, which BP Oil Disaster was very keen on following 24/7. I wonder if you ever got any sleep, BP. Well, I guess you didn't, because you have hours and hours and hours of footage of the rover's work down there. And this picture I have been spending all day trying to find, and finally I got it. As you see here, in this area here, we had Deepwater Horizon. And this is the chamber of this asphalt volcano. So you see, compared to the size of the Gulf of Mexico, we are dealing with a volcano chamber, which is on the flat plane 2D plane, 7 times or 1/7 of the total area of the Gulf of Mexico. Question is, how deep is it? I don't know. Been trying to look for that. I got no clue. But if you look at this is the length in kilometers. All you need to do to find out how much that is in miles, you divide 500 with 1.6, then you have it in your American miles. So that will give you an idea that this is a volcano of proportions. And I know you're worried about Yellowstone Park. I would worry much more about this one, because this one is much, much bigger. It is much bigger. Even the caldera, which it is, which I found out today it is. You see, oh, that was not the right picture. We'll get to that. Let me go back to here. I think there is. You can see on the outline of the volcano rim here, right? And in the middle you can see there is a rise, like there's two pops on it, or two lids. That is the expression of a caldera. Let me just pull out the caldera immediately so you don't forget what it was I was describing. So here it comes, hopefully. Still, I got some problems with my Camtasia. I don't really want to work with my computer. As you see, this is a very small picture. That was the best picture I could get. But as this picture showed, this is the Yellowstone caldera. You clearly see the wall, and then you see this bump, and then there's the wall again. This is the exact same thing we are seeing with the asphalt volcano. Go back to Biloxi Dome. So imagine you just seeing from above, then you're actually seeing the exact same thing. Oh, come on. There it is. You see that? So we are dealing with an asphalt volcano, which in reality is a caldera. And what is the problem with a caldera is that when a caldera is getting ready to erupt, it starts breaking down around the rim because of the heat coming up. The pressure is too high, and it breaks the seal of this kind of cap there's on. And at some point, this cap has been destabilized so much that it plunges into the crater itself. And that is where the gases at the same time have been compressed. And the more you compress the gases, the more volatile they become, especially when all the energy is released. And that is why people are fearing Yellowstone caldera. Well, there's good reason to be afraid of that one, because that one will take out pretty much half of America on the western side. Will be buried in ashes, all the way down to Texas, all the way up to 3 feet deep. So if that Yellowstone is going off, it's not good to be anywhere in America, pretty much. And the rest of the world for that matter, with all the ashes in the atmosphere, blocking out our sunlight, meaning nuclear winter. But, and I want to show you something else. So we have an idea of how vast this volcano is. And it's sitting in a very, very peculiar place, or very dangerous place. I'll get to that too. But this is a screenshot of one of the risers from one of the rovers. I believe I found this picture from BP Oil Disasters video showing this. Crude oil comes in different colors, but there were no oil spill, people. What they did was they punctured this asphalt mud volcano, and what is coming up from this riser is in reality mud and not oil. I'll still come to that and prove my point in this. And here we got the infamous picture of the so-called riser from Scandi Neptune monitoring this vast oil spill. It was an enormous oil spill, right? It was a disaster beyond. That was definitely the impression I had to begin with until I learned more about this oil spill. But if you look closely on this picture here, do you see what is wrong? I do. First of all, we got a pipe sitting here, this yellow pipe. This one is sticking out from the underground in the wall itself, or in the soil itself, like it's buried. How can it be buried? That really begs some questions. How? This oil rig just fell down, right? It's no more than a few days ago, so how can this pipe be buried in sediment so fast? Which is not possible. This will take a long time before this will be completely covered. So this is an old pipe. Now this is where this so-called oil is coming out. This is supposed to be the drill pipe. A 24-inch in diameter drill pipe. That's according to what BP and Matt Simmons and many others told us. Well, may he rest in peace, Matt Simmons, because he would not stop talking about this, and therefore he ended up dead as a heart attack in his bathtub, even though this man was with good health. But he did not want to be silent, so I guess he was silent. Well, that's in many books, or in many people's eye, might be conjecture, but we're dealing with the oil giants. And in reality, you don't even try mental with those. Everybody who has tried to make a car running on water or a mixture to reduce CO2, or getting away from fossil fuels have all ended up dead. Heart attacks or car crashes. Yeah, there was a guy, he actually put 8 ounces of water in his car. His own modified engine that could also run on gasoline, but with the combination of the gasoline and the water, he could run 80 miles on these 8 ounces of water. And that is quite significant. And you can pretty much calculate how much loss the oil giants will have in money if such a car hit the market and was a big success. That will mean the end of the oil industry as we know it. And they cannot afford that, because they rule the world pretty much with the bankers. Well, that is all conspiracy, right? Well, it is not. You can look that up and find out yourself. But if you look at the edge of this pipe, if you take a piece of steel tube, or a copper tube for that matter, if you have something lying out in the garage and you know you won't use that, and pretty much you'll probably throw it out or put it down to trash and get it recycled, get some money for it. That would be the smartest thing, instead of just letting it sit and rust. But if you go out and bend a piece of pipe, you know exactly what that pipe would do. It would fold where you bend it. It will fold over. But as you see here on this pipe, you see some very, very defined cut lines. They're very straight. I've got another picture that shows that more clearly. Whatever this is, I don't know. But I believe this piece here belonged to that piece over there. Whatever this is what I believe is one of Shell's underwater pipelines that goes to the coastline into the refinery from their oil rig, which is lying just above Macondo Well 252. Actually, this drill pipe, or this oil pipe, is actually going through MC 252, straight through, and this is Shell's. And Shell, well, you can go look up what Shell is and what placement they have on the world map. You can trace that back to Holland and the Dutch Queen, or the Holland Queen. And she's a member of the Bilderberg. She's a very prominent person. Shell and BP have a lot of power. A lot of power. They even had so much power that they were given the right to act as police officers on the beaches after the oil spill had begun. Obama gave them that authorization to bar you from going to the waters, to the beach. Well, you think, well, it's probably to protect the people. No, it was not. It was to make sure that you did not get the idea that there were no such thing as a real oil spill. That's why they kept you away. But they were spraying you with correxit, so it was not in order to preserve your health. When they were spraying with correxit and people were beginning to get sick and get skin rashes and cough a lot and get lung disease, which is now permanent damage because of the hydrocarbons and the carcinogenics which is in hydrocarbons and is extremely toxic oil, very toxic. But correxit is 10 times more toxic than the crude oil itself, and that they were spraying in the air as a fine mist, and that is of course carried in over land, also by evaporation from the sunlight down to the surface will also make the correxit vaporize and be airborne as a gas and get into your airways, and that's why people are sick, called the blue plague. Next picture. This shows it even more. This is apparently from another angle, and again we see this yellow weird pipe, wherever that is. We don't know, and I'm not going to speculate too much in that. But again, this pipe piece here do not show any sign of being bent. This pipe is clearly cut. Straight lines. Is cut with a mechanical device. And anyone who is in the metal industry will give me correct on that. This do not look like a natural breakage of any sort or any kind. Clearly. You can also see on this pipe there is yellow paint on it. As far as I know, those pipes they're drilling with do not have any paint on it. Why would it? It would be scraped off during the drill because of the drill mud they're using as a friction, but also as a pressure type to press up the oil. They're filling in the mud from the bottom and pressing the oil up towards the pipe so it can suck out the oil. That's what they're doing. So this one have paint on it, yellow paint, which represent the color of shell pretty much. And still, these straight lines tells me that this is definitely not the riser or the broken drill pipe. Not in a million years. Okay, next picture. And again another spectacular picture of the oil spill. All this oil gushing out, which as you can see, look very, very similar to those vents that there is found all over the oceans. There is even a video sequence, I think BP Oil Disaster have that one, I used to have it, that there was an eel type fish swimming through this plume, but this was the other picture I showed you, where it was lying on the floor. This is a so-called riser, and a lot of oil is coming out, we are led to believe. And this is the dispersant operation, meaning this is the operation where they are supposedly putting correxit on it in order to sink the oil to the seafloor, to kill off everything living on the seafloor, meaning you will have a dead zone, in order to not make sure the oil don't get to the surface. But as you can see here, this looks pretty much like one of those vents you see where there is in volcanic areas. And these vents, which is all over the oceans, are of course spewing out something which is toxic to us. But in the vastness of our oceans, and the amount which is being let out into the oceans is actually beneficial to the fish and the sea life itself. And they are actually fish and other bacteria which is thriving around these vents. So in reality, what you're looking at here is biloxidone venting. And I'll come to that too. And here we got another picture. This looks like oil, but it's not oil. This is asphalt volcano coming up. You want to believe it's an oil spill, but I'll come to the, not the assumption, but to beyond reasonable doubt that there is no such thing as an oil spill, because the amount of oil which is supposed to be in the ocean would be impossible with all the corrected combined on this planet to keep down. They will have to keep putting corrected, keep putting corrected, keep putting corrected in the water, and in the end they will kill all the oceans with it, because it's that toxic. Literally that toxic. So this is the asphalt, and here we got biloxidome. And in 2010, NOAA, N-O-A-A, came out with a subsea report after the Gulf oil spill had begun. I think it was a few months later. And they're coming out with an explanation in their report that they have found 7 leaks in biloxidome caldera. And as I just described to you, when a caldera fall apart, it will be along the rim, along where the cap is sitting. This is the cap, and this is the wall all around here of the caldera. And as you see here, the leaks are at the rim, and at the crossover here, there is 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 leaks coming from the caldera. And this is an asphalt volcano, or maybe a combination of an asphalt and a mud volcano. I don't know exactly that. But you fear Yellowstone. I would fear this one in full eruption. This one will create havoc in the Gulf of Mexico. Serious havoc. Especially if it blows up. Because calderas do that. They explode. They don't just pop it out. No, they explode like a nuclear bomb when this falls down into the gases, which is compressed, and then it ignites, and then boom, a massive bomb. So this is what they're showing you. And this has been public. They went out publicly and said this. And as you see here, over here was the Deepwater Horizon placed. This is the Gloria Salt Dome, and this is biloxidome. And here we got a little from the upside overview of the entire region. And here we got the 7 geysers, as I call them in my video, because they're shooting up like that. It looks like a geyser. So this is how it looks like. In this subsea report, which is now not to be found anywhere on the internet, I have been searching and searching and searching. I cannot find that PDF. I think Google systematically have erased as much info as possible regarding the Gulf oil spill. But according to this sea report, in the water there was a giant lake of oil. Yeah, it becomes underwater lakes. And that is because of the thermohaline boundary. It is keeping the oil down for a while, and the oil is accumulating until it will break through the thermohaline line, and then it will come to the surface. But they are saying, or they said back in 2010, that this oil leak, or this lake of oil, which were down at 1,000 meters depths, that is some 950 feet down, was 20 miles long, 4 miles wide, and 450 feet thick. If you go watch my playlist, I explain that in great detail in this video about the geysers of biloxidome. This is a 2-episode video, and that is a must-see. Absolutely, it's much more detailed. But just to give you an idea of what they said, so we are dealing with an underwater lake of pure crude oil, which is 20 miles long, 4 miles wide, and 450 feet thick. I took the opportunity to calculate the amount of cubic feet that would be. And that is a staggering number, which you will find in the video if you go watch it. But I actually calculated that that amount of oil in cubic feet, if that was spread out on the Pacific Ocean in a thickness of 1 inch, it would be equivalent to 5.76 times the size of the country India over in Asia. 5.7. Okay. Now, that begs the question, how did BP manage to keep that vast amount of oil hidden from sight? I will tell you one thing, there will be no way in hell or on earth or in heaven that they would be able to keep that amount of oil out of sight. That oil would have been all over the Gulf of Mexico. Mexico would have been affected. Venezuela, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Caribbeans, they would have been destroyed completely. The coral life, their white beaches, and the tourist industry would have been dismantled in a heartbeat. It would be all destroyed. And the south coast of North America, or the Gulf Coast as we call it, destroyed completely. That's how much oil Noah said there was floating around, actually going towards Mexico, going southwest. Have you heard any reports from Mexico that vast amounts of crude oil washed up on the beaches and destroyed their way of life and their tourism? I don't think so. People are venturing to Mexico, to Acapulco and all the other beach areas and having great time, right? There is no oil. Ergo, by just summarizing that, we can clearly already see something is not right with their story, and something else which is not right with their story, and that is BP come out officially and tell the entire world that the well casing was damaged, it was fractured. They also told you that the wellhead blew off, right? You remember that. The wellhead blew off. Okay, the wellhead is a big cement block which they are casting down at the seafloor with the riser and the well casing for the drill pipe to go down into. That is a massive construct. And that is, I don't know if it's high-tech engineering, but it's definitely something sturdy. Supposed to be. Well, the well casing is fractured, it's compromised, and the wellhead blew off. And then BP come out later and tell us that they capped the well. Now listen here, people. If you don't have the wellhead, again, there will be nowhere in hell or in earth or in heaven they will be able to cap that gushing well. And until to this day, because of that, if that was the fact, oil will keep gushing into the ocean. In America, Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Caribbean, and everything else would have been soiled in oil. So can we conclude now already that something is not fitting in the picture? Someone is lying, right? Someone is definitely telling a lie to you, because there is no way they can cap a well without a wellhead. And if the wellhead was intact, but the well casing was fractured, as they also said, and you put the cap off, you are trying to keep the pressure down. And where do you think the pressure is going to go? It's going to find the weakest link, and that is the well casing in this case. And what would have happened with that high pressure? That well casing would have completely be destroyed, and then the oil would seep around up through the seafloor around the well casing. And there would be no way then to cap the well. No way. Impossible. That gives itself, because that's underneath the sediments. It's deep down in the ground. How would they ever be able to get to that point? You know how difficult it is for submarines or rovers or any kind of submersible to maneuver in water and actually work in water, because when they were in water, you're in weightless condition. And that means you don't got a real good foothold, especially not with something which is floating in the water. So how are you even going to contemplate getting on with doing anything constructive? It will be very, very difficult. It will take years to do that. And then the disaster would have been beyond belief. Europe would have oil. Many places else there would have been oil, because of all this oil, according to BP, was gushing out. According to Matt Simmons, we had a pressure of 120,000 psi. And according to my knowledge, and to engineers' knowledge, there is no man-made construction that can tap or keep such a high pressure. There is no seal that will be able to contain such high pressure. It will be blown apart. If you put an O-ring around it, it will be blown apart. You just saw what happened with Challenger. You remember that? It blew up. That was because of her O-ring, which was too cold. It contracted too much, and that led the gases from the solid fuel lift booster rockets seep out from the side, and it caught fire eventually, and then it ignited the big fuel tank. That is what is happening when you're dealing with this high pressure. It's just going to find the weakest link, and it's going to blow it way through there. So, come on. I'm asking you people to use your common sense. When there's no well casing, you cannot cap a well. It's obvious. It's the same as trying to put the cap back on a beer bottle, but you have broken the neck on the bottle. How are you going to get the cap on again then? It's not possible, is it? No. Same principle. So there were no oil spill, people. It was a staged oil spill. But I will come to why they did this. But they got some results out of it. They got activated the caldera, 50-mile wide monster of a volcano. And right next to it, a monster of a salt dome, sticking 10,000 feet down into the ground. So this is a big thing, a vast thing. Imagine that, 40 miles. Imagine that, how big that is. That they have compromised, and I'll also show you why and how. So here's another picture of it, just taken from directly above. So you see there are 7 leaks. Biloxi Dome is in full eruption today, right now. But that's not something you will see, because the water pressure from above is too high for this stuff to come up. And that stuff which is coming up is too heavy to reach the surface, except the tar balls, because they contain oxygen, encapsulated oxygen, so they will float. And that is what is washing up on your beaches. There is oil coming up on the beaches too, but that oil came from that pipeline. And right next to there, Texaco Regal well drilling there. And that was in 2005. That one was out there drilling. And I had sent my informations to a lady, which her uncle, I think, or was it? No, it was her husband, which were an old oil rigger. And he said that he's been working in the Gulf, And he said this particular area in the Gulf, on this slope with these salt domes and this volcano, was and is a very volatile area to drill in. And it was abandoned, that idea of drilling out here, because this area is simply just too dangerous to venture out to drill for any type of resources. That was a no-no. But what are they doing out here? Texaco is out there, and BP is out there drilling in the most dangerous area you can possibly drill in, right next to a volcano. Who would in their right minds do so? Who in their right minds would drill right next to a salt dome which is connected to a vast salt brine which is stretching far inland in the United States? And let me give you a hint. What happens to salt when it comes in contact with water? I'll let you hang on that one to answer for yourself. I guess you got the idea. And again, here we got that picture of the caldera. This is Yellowstone, but it's the exact same principle. It doesn't matter if it's in the water or it's above ground. Don't matter. Earthquakes. 3 weeks after the Gulf oil spill began. I just call it the oil spill because that'll refresh your memory, keep your memory. We had a 3.2 earthquake in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Earthquake in Louisiana have not happened in 80 years. And now today, people are feeling the earth is having tremors, especially around the so-called sinkhole at Bayou Corn. And people also are giving me reports of it feels like that the ground is jolting. Well, let me give you a little idea. Jolting meaning it is rocking like a boat. When the ground, like that, is rocking like a boat, that means something down, deep down, is shifting. There's a shift going on deep underneath your feet in Louisiana. That is what you feel. In Texas, they feel it too. And in Texas, just 3 days ago, they had a 4.1 earthquake in Texas, and they're nowhere near a fault line. So how are they being able to have a 4.1 earthquake? That is something you can feel. It's not a big earthquake, but you can feel it for sure. And it's far from the New Madrid line. We're very far. Again, the ground is shifting. And that is why you are having the earthquakes. And that is why you are having the jolting. Because the subterranean under your feet is shifting position. It is a natural event which is happening right now, but it is set in motion by man for a specific reason, which I will come to too, but not yet. Okay, next picture. Let's see what shows up. Okay, out here in the Gulf of Mexico, these areas here, which is marked, is all seeps. Stuff which is coming naturally out of the sea floor. So gases, gas hydrate and high flux gas seeps, and even oil, or chemosynthetic communities, deep water gas and oil discoveries and fields, that is the squares. But there is natural vents in the Earth's crust, and that is found throughout all oceans. This is a natural thing, and this is a part of the ecosystem in the oceans. This stuff which is coming out in these amounts, which is coming out, as I said earlier, is beneficial to plant life, plankton, and fish. Yes, it is. It's nutrition for them. So, don't be alarmed. This is a normal thing. Completely normal. So don't worry. Next picture. This I'm more worried about. According to my knowledge, there is over 27,000 drill wells in the Gulf of Mexico. in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico, in an area which is littered with salt domes. Yeah, where you find oil, you find salt domes because they are highly connected to each other. So that is why the Gulf of Mexico is such a vast industry. Where's all this oil and natural gas they're drilling? Where is that going to? Why are we keep buying foreign oil from the Arabs? When we have all this, where is all this going to? Who are they giving all these resources to? You gotta ask yourself that question. But nevertheless, the entire Gulf of Mexico along the coastline, all the way to Mexico and all the way over to Florida Panhandle, is a pincushion. 27,000 plus wells have been drilled since they started drilling for oil in the Gulf. 27,000. And here you can see all the pipelines going into the refineries. So they're leading, as I said, Shell have in this very area. I'm trying to zoom in on it. Let's see if we can find, we cannot find it, the actual Shell, but we can try and locate. Here we got Mississippi coming out. Here's the Delta. So over here we have the Gulf oil spill beginning right now on that purple spot, right? And what are we having going through there? We have a pipeline, right? And that is exactly what I told you. This is the Shell pipeline going through there. And that was that pipe I showed you, which were cut and not bent and broken. Cut. And that was the oil that they let out into the sea and they'd get to the surface so they could be spraying corrected and make it very feasible and trustful for them or to you that they were doing something with the problem. They were solving the problem, right? So yeah, they put some oil out into the water to make it real. And you know, if you are in that book, you know, perception is reality. Isn't that right, Smoking Joe Trainer? That's one of your sayings. Perception is reality. I actually took that from you because that is, you can't be more precise than that. Because that is how it is. What you see is what you believe in. But you don't see what's going on in the seafloor. But BP oil disaster, Super Delta Bravo 1, and Arabella 33, which has left YouTube but left her channel for everyone to go look at. She left her material and I thank you for that. That is a good place to go watch some real stuff. And BP oil disaster 2 and Super Delta Bravo 1. So, now you have that part of the story. Now, we're beginning another part of the story, which I am very worried about, extremely worried about, and I will explain why. As I showed you, let's just zoom it up to a big format. No reason to sit and look at a little picture. It might blow up a little more. Let's see. Yeah. Here we had the oil spill beginning, right? Out here. Right there, where my cursor sits. Right there. That's where you see Biloxi Dome. You can actually kind of sense it. Is right here, where the mouse is. So, as I explained to you, you know what's happened. Have you already figured that out? What happens when you pour water on salt? Yeah, the salt is being dissolved, right? Now, all these salt domes is all these small knolls you are seeing here along the coastline. That is salt domes. These are all connected to this enormous brine pool of salt. Remember by Yukon, there was a salt dome, which we used for storage right? Now it's compromised, and I'll explain to you why. You see, out here, they made the famous oil spill. What they did was they compromised Gloria Dome, and they drilled 5 holes into it, and not just 2, and 2 relief wells. They also had a secret drill, which you do not know about, but I have a video on my playlist that describes that and the evidence of that. So they drilled well A, which went sour. They drilled well B, 3 football lanes to the west of it, which also went sour. That was here where the well casing and the well head blew off. Ouch, not to be kept. And then they come up with the solution. Oh, we need to drill 2 relief wells to intersect down in the ground. This will be in order to relieve the pressure. I'm sorry, I'm laughing, because I know it's a lie. No, they just drilled 2 more holes. 37,500 feet into the Earth's crust. Now, I have also back-checked that. I was very interested in knowing how deep is that? Why so deep? And how thick is the crust of the Gulf of Mexico? Because this is staggering. I found out that the thickness of the crust until you reach the so-called mantle is between 7 and 11 miles thick, and then you hit the molten magma. This is the thinnest point on planet Earth of crust. This is the place where you are the absolute closest to the magma. Then all the other seas are oceans. This is a very, very thin membrane compared to the rest of the crust. So you're close to it, extremely close to this so-called hot magma. It is hot, but there's other stories about that, what that really is. I will not come into that because that has nothing to do with this subject. But as you have figured out, salt is being dissolved when it comes in contact with water. And now take a look at the size of this brine pool. And know there is 7 holes in a salt dome, which is 40 miles wide, and there's 7 24 inches drilled holes sitting inside a salt dome, which is now collapsing. And as I explained to you, when the salt gets dissolved and you have a 5,000 feet water table pressing down on it, the water will go down into the salt dome. It will dissolve the salt, and wherever there is a channel or wherever there is a weak spot in that salt or whatever, the salt will be dissolved more and more. It will spread more and more. It will spread more and more, and more salt will be dissolved, and it will work itself in, and it will be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until the water has filled and dissolved all the salt. Salt, when it's dry, is a solid crystal and quite stable. You just do it yourself. Go out and fill up a cup with salt and then press your finger down into it. I guarantee you cannot press your finger to the bottom of that cup without twisting your finger. But if you press directly on top of it, you won't be able to get down to the bottom of that cup. That is how strong the salt is. But how strong do you think the salt is when it's dissolved by water? It will be the same as swimming in the ocean, right? So he has no strength left. There is no strength. It's gone. So you can see already now, we're looking at a big problem. A very big problem. Next picture. So today when I came home, I did some more digging. And this is what I came up with. And I must honestly admit, it really shocked me. It kind of, yeah, this is one of the very few times in my life I'm scared, you know, scared. And if I were you living there, I would be terrified, because this is showing, again, calculate this with 1.6, divide that with 1.6, then you have the measurements of what that means. Now, this is the concentration in elevations of salt in the crust. Here is where the salt is very close to the surface, and where it's purple, it is very far from the surface. So if you look here, we have massive, massive, massive accumulation of salt. And right here, right there, deep water horizon we're drilling into Gloria Dome. You can see this is not a good thing. And as I said to you, underneath this is that, from the former picture, salt brine, which is sticking all the way in here, in this area, deep, deep inside. And over here, outside that rim of salt brine, we got more salt. And that is because of the New Madrid line, which is going down through here. This is where the New Madrid line is. We got a lot of salt. We got a lot of salt here. Look at all the red. This is all the protrusions in the Earth's crust. This is where the salt is lying almost at the surface. This is inland. This is on ground. Here is lying deep. Bayou Corn is around here. So this is fairly deep down. So whatever happened with this so-called salt dome, which is just collapsed, as someone is trying to smooth it out and say there's nothing to worry about. There's absolutely good reason to be worried, people. According to Idaho Pigger, which I now know from another new YouTuber, I don't know if it's true, but according to this person, Idaho Pigger has left America for some reason. He is no longer to be found on YouTube. He's gone. He might resurface. I don't know. It don't really matter right now. Whatever he's doing, I hope he's okay, and may God be with him. And I am glad that he shared his knowledge about what was going on at the Bayou Corn in those details that he did. We are dealing with a salt cavity or salt dome, which is 2 times the size of Empire State Building sticking down into the ground. And that explains exactly what I was saying. What happens when the salt water is coming into the salt? It is dissolving the salt, and it's finding the weakest point, and whoopty, Bayou Corn, or the Texas brine as they call it, suddenly had water. Where did that water come from? As I said in 2010, without even having the background knowledge about all this, I already knew. I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit talking to me, but I knew. I told you back in 2010 that the water from the Gulf of Mexico will come up inland because it is dissolving the salt, and the water is finding the weakest spots, and Bayou Corn was the first evidence of that. Now, sinkholes are appearing in Texas. We got earthquakes in Texas. We got earthquakes in Baton Rouge, which is in this area. Ouch. High concentration of salt and very close to surface. We got sinkholes in Alabama over here showing up. Even in Florida, they're showing up. Again, we got something over here. All this is connected to each other, dear people. All of this is connected. This is just a typographical image of the concentration in depths of the salt brine, as I explained. So all the red is very close to Earth's surface. And what is purple is very deep, all the way down to the salt brine itself. So just by looking at this, it gives you a very clear image of that something is at mess here. Something is happening. Something very not good. And that is why I'm screaming and I'm screaming and I'm sounding the alarm, I'm blowing the horn. You need to get out of here. You must leave. You have no other option. If you stay, you will die. And that is straight from the heart. You will die, and I'm deeply worried about you. Deeply worried. It's 30 million people which is sitting and living on top of this time bomb. I don't know when it's going to happen. You see, as Jesus said, you don't know the day or the hour. Not are you supposed to. It is only the Father that knows that and have that in his power to set everything in motion. He's in control. So whenever it is time, this will fall under your feet and you will all drown. And you will drown in a sea of crude oil, tar balls, mud volcano, hammerhead sharks, nuclear. There is 11 nuclear power plants sitting all the way up along the New Madrid line. 11 people. 11. And some of them is built just like Fukushima. And you know what happened to that. That didn't go too good, did it? And that is built by General Electric, American company. Good quality, right? Good grief. You should have let the Chinese build it. It would have been the same quality. But this picture really says it all. In my book it does. If you understand what you're looking at, as I do, you're living on a minefield. And it's just a question of time now before all this implodes. And you won't have a chance. If you are in that area with it, which is within this area. Are you living in this area here? You die. Okay? You will die. There is no way you will survive this. There will be too much debris, there will be tsunami, there will be so many things happening at once that it will even be futile to try run. Just get on your knees and say your prayers, because you will leave the planet. You will die. And here's a very good reason for why. And you can clearly say, Houston, we have a problem. Yeah, you have a problem, Houston. You will be gone. And here we got, oh, this is another picture. This is South America. I don't know why I didn't delete that. But here we got an idea of how the salt is doing inside our crust. Salt is protruding, pushing itself up through the crustal layers, and it's breaking these layers, these sediments, which is limestone, chalkstone, sandstone, basalt stone, some very brittle, very not strong types of stone. It's not granite. It's not flint. It is very brittle. You know how easy it is to break a limestone. Take a hammer and slam it once and it's broken. So imagine you have a 40-mile wide piece of salt trying to get up. You think these layers here would withstand that? No, not a chance. But the salt, this is the seafloor, the blue line. It's not the surface of the water. This is the seafloor, this is water all the way up there. This is all the crustal layers. So the salt is actually sitting at the very bottom to the crust. And it's shooting up like that and putting itself in domes. So when you're dealing with having fault lines and you're seeing that the salt is doing what it's doing, it's just breaking it without any effort. It's just a natural event. Earth is ever changing. Earth is alive. It is ever changing. And I can assure you, Earth will survive you, humans. It will. It will kill you before you kill it. Count on it. It is all powerful. And here we got some more, again in Gulf of Mexico. We got something called salt with welts. To explain what that is where the salt is touching the crust. It's bonded to the crust. But still, there's movement, and it's protruding up like that, and you see what it does. It fractures. Strike, slip, fault. This is pretty much as you see the New Madrid line going down through. So, just on this picture here, to illustrate something to you, not this picture, there's another bigger, better picture. Again, we got another kind of cross-section of how it works and what it does to the crust. It breaks it, as you see. And here again, you can again see how the salt is breaking the sedimentary layers, which is coming actually from Noah's flood time. That is these sedimentary layers, sandstone, limestone, chalkstone, and some other very brittle, not strong stones, because it's sediments, it's not rock. It is fossilized over time and pressed down over time, and that's why it seems hot, but it's not really hard, but it's not really strong. So you see what it can do to the crust, and this is just salt. Remember that? It's just a crystal. But that's what it does. And it's sitting on the Earth's crust. So, in order to kind of make you understand the process, that is, here, this is another cross-section. And again, you see how it fractures the crust, the salt, when it shoots up and come up and make a bulge like Gloria Dome is. So let's just say that is Gloria Dome reaching the surface, and then you will have a little bump, right? What is happening when this salt is dissolved? All of it by the salt water coming from the Gulf of Mexico and inland in this salt brine, as I showed you, sticking that far deep. This crust is so heavy, or this sedimentary layers is so heavy, that it will press the water out from where it came in from, eventually. So, logic is, if this is being compressed, this will likewise sink down in the same manner. It will sink equivalent to what is there. That's obvious. It's closing the gap. So, if this is your top, let's just say this is the ground, and you got, let's just say this, drop, and you see here, this is 5 kilometers. That is some 3.6 miles approximately. So we got a mile thick layer sitting here. So imagine this layer here is dissolved and this land fell down onto it. That means the land up here dropped a mile. Do you follow me now? A mile. And did I show you how much salt there were in the Gulf of Mexico? How many salt domes there are in the Gulf of Mexico? Do you now understand the problem you have? I truly hope you get the idea. You have a serious, serious problem, Houston. It is bigger than you can handle. And it's too late. They cannot even, if they wanted to, stop the process. It is going. And you are feeling it in the ground. You're even seeing the evidence of it. You're seeing vegetation die. I showed you vegetation in Alabama from the anonymous subscriber of mine. I'm not revealing her name for various reasons. She's not told me not to, but I am who I am. So I'm not going to tell who she is. But I read up to you yesterday, or the day before yesterday, what she wrote to me. And it makes sense. And I've seen the pictures she sent to me, and I'm very grateful you sent these pictures to me, because they indeed illustrates what's going on. And that is, her flowers, leaves turns white and look crystal-like. And that is because they're sucking up salt. And that's turning the plant into a crystal. And the trees are doing the same. You see that at Bayou Corn. Right? So imagine up here, this salt tongue here, this is still the Gulf of Mexico. This is the seafloor. Here we are talking about a very thick piece of salt. Imagine that is dissolved. That piece of land will fall down equivalently to what this thickness is. So this is 10 kilometers. Rise that up, so we are around here. And 10 kilometers in miles, let me calculate that in a hurry. The precise number. Let me see. 10 divided by 1.6. That is 6.25 miles. So, let's just say that all this salt disappeared and got pressed out back into the water because of the weight from above. This piece of land here will drop 6.25 miles down into the ocean. Drop straight down. Because there will be nothing down here holding it back. Because the solid salt is no longer there. The salt has become liquid. And liquid can be pressed out because of the sheer weight from above. Water normally cannot be compressed, but if it has an exit, it will seek that exit. So depending on how big the exit is also is equivalent to the speed of which the land will sink with. Obvious. Next picture. Another little idea about what we're dealing with. This is the salt brine, people. That big yellow slab I just showed you, sitting on the Earth's crust, and it's being dissolved. So here we got a 2 kilometer. Let me check that. I'm not the best mathematical brain, so I have to calculate. I want to be precise. That would be 1.25 miles. So imagine this was dissolved. The land up here will sink 1.25 miles down. That means the seafloor will be 1.25 miles deeper down from where it originally was. So if you're going up, and this is on the land, as I showed you with the big salt brine, you will have that equivalence of 1.25 miles if this is the case. That is that thick. Do you think that you will walk with dry shoes, or do you think you will have to take a swim? That would be your guess. I already know the answer. And again, we got another example of it. Again, this is 5 kilometers. This is almost 5 kilometers. Imagine this was pressed out, dissolved. Then the seafloor will drop 5 kilometers down. 3.6 miles. Straight down. And again, the land above it will follow, of course. So if this was not the seafloor, but if this is Louisiana, Alabama, parts of Texas, you would be flooded. Everything is gone forever. There'll be ghost cities sitting in water. These things have happened before. They have seen that all over the planet. They're seeing cities all over the planet along the coastlines just drop down. So you can see what I'm talking about. We have a problem. Big, big problem. And this is why I won't shut up. I need to warn you. And here we got it. This is really illustrating it. This is fault line. So here we got the salt being dissolved. And all this is the fault line. This is in the first place fractured already because it's a fault line. This is mangled sediments. Completely mangled. All this will, just drop down in whatever, kind of randomly in this case. So in some places it will be severe, the sinkage of your land. And in other places, less severe. But nevertheless, you won't be living there anymore anyway, unless you have a houseboat. So I'm not kidding you, people. You have a big, big problem. This is the New Madrid line. In between here, going up this way, up through to Arkansas, Tennessee. That's where the New Madrid fault, the big spot, is sitting. But this is also giving you an idea of how it looks like out there. So if the New Madrid line goes off by a vast earthquake, just an 8-pointer, would be devastating for you sitting down here. Because I just showed you this. Showing in a moment. Come on. There. You see that? It would be a very random dispersal of crust. Wherever it lands, well, that remains to be seen when it's done, when it's happening. And see, here we got the salt basin. But it's digging deeper up. The salt brine is going way deeper in here. It's pretty much following this one. Sitting right here. And that is the Appalachian and the Quirtitas frost front. So it's bordering up to that. So that is the limit. So you can see all this. All this will be gone. Just gone. Forever. Just gone. And again, more of it. Just to illustrate how much we are dealing with. We are talking about a lot of salt here. Look at that. All the way here. This is that yellow spot I showed you. The salt brine in itself. Right? You remember that picture of that? And then we got another salt layer. We got 2 salt layers on top of each other. Are you kidding me? I just saw that. Ouch. We got 2. Oh. Oh, now my hair is standing. So, either way, we're screwed. It don't matter which one of them goes off. It does not matter. This will be devastating. If the 6-piece salt is collapsing, we're talking about a massive tsunami that will destroy everything to the Caribbean and the entire Gulf region. All the way down to Yucatan, all the way to Venezuela, Nicaragua, Mexico. Everybody will be affected. And it will anyway, no matter which one of these are going off. Wow. I just saw that. I almost feel like saying, damn. Oh. Well, either way, we are screwed. It's going to be one of those going off and trigger this sinkage of the Gulf Coast. Just take a look at it. And that should scare you a little. It should scare you so much you're looking at your suitcase. Should I pack it and get out of here now? Yeah, I suggest you would. I really suggest you should leave. It don't matter. Pack what you need, and what you need, and know how to use, and put it in your car and go. 300 miles inland, 300 miles away from the Mississippi fault line or the New Madrid fault line. 300 miles that way, 300 miles that way, 300 miles that way, 300 miles that way. Get away from the coast, far away from the coast, and preferably to the west, because we got 11 nuclear power plants sitting here. And the wind in America is prevailing, coming from the south, mixed with wind coming from the west. That means the eastern part of America will be heavily contaminated by fallout. Heavy. We're talking 11 nuclear power plants. And all of them got 2 reactors, at least. And some of them are equivalent to Fukushima. And we know that problem over there, how big that is. And now we're getting a taste of it because of all the debris coming over. And it's still high radioactive with cesium. But the propaganda mainstream media is not telling you anything about that, are they? No, they don't want to worry about that. They're going to worry about all these fake school shootings so they can get the guns out of your hands. That is the big topic. I would call the cesium contaminated debris a very big problem. A very big problem. Much worse than any gun in this country can provide. We are talking about birth defects in generations to come. We are talking about abortions in vast numbers. We are talking about radiation sickness in people, and they will simply just die. They touch any of this debris and they are contaminated, and they will die of it. So what is all this talk about gun ban? You see, your mainstream media is lying to you every single day. It is not mainstream media. It is propaganda media and nothing else. All you have to do is go back and read history, if you can find it anywhere. The true history about Hermann Göring, the propaganda minister of Hitler's Nazi Germany. And if you compare that to the model of what your TV media is giving you, you're seeing the exact same model. Exact same model. No different. So you are being lied to. You have to turn off your TV for good. Throw it out. Take a freaking sledgehammer and punch it through it. Get rid of your TV. You are not being told the truth at any time. And if you are, it's mixed with lies, and then you can't discern what is truth and what is lie. Therefore, you cannot use that story for anything. They are lying to you. All of them. Every single one of them. And the conspiracy is that Rothschild own, with pharma, big pharma, the pharmaceutical companies, own the media. All the newspapers and all the TV stations. They got you by the balls, people. And you are believing them. And they're forming your opinion. That is what propaganda is doing. They are forming your opinion. You are not forming your own opinion. No, they are forming it for you. Like Fox News Radio in Ohio says, on the channel WHIO, We bring the news. You decide. Yeah, but how is the news presented? It is presented in a fashion that will make you make that decision which they are steering you to do. Okay? And here we got some seepage. This is also natural. Chemo 2. I don't know what that means. And brine. Chemo 3 and hydrate in Missouri, I think. Or something like that. But this is a natural occurrence that these, all this is salt domes, people. All of it. All these bumps, salt domes. You see, there's a lot of them. And they're drilling 27,000 holes in that area. Are they out of their minds? This is a problem. This is a disaster waiting to happen. But they decided to do it themselves over here. They are starting the problem here. It's going to evolve. And it is evolving. And it's going faster and faster and faster. And suddenly, it's too late. If you're not out, you won't get out. Not alive. But this is natural seepage, which is beneficial for the life in the seas. And here we got it again. An illustration. This is from Germany, but it's pretty much the same principle. There's no difference. Where there is salt, they are acting in the same fashion. They are lying to the crust in a salt welt to the crust. And then they are shooting up like that through the Earth's crust. So if water is coming down here in big quantities, what is happening? This salt is being dissolved. It's going to dissolve this one. This is, let's just say this is Bayou Corn. It is now water dissolved. And it will continue its path. And the water will seep in this direction and this direction. And it will dissolve this salt dome. And it will continue and continue and continue. And dissolving all the salt. And eventually the salt will be gone. It will be put back into the oceans, and the salt will be even higher in level in the oceans, which is not good for the fish life. No. As far as I know, the salt content in the oceans is 0.9%, and it should not be a lot higher than that before it becomes hostile to plant life and sea life, meaning fish and mammals. That would be devastating. And there is a prophecy in the Bible talking about 1/3 of the sea would be left from fish, or free of fish. Talk about starvation, talk about pollution. Yeah, big time. And now another thing, which also I stumbled over. This is the New Madrid line going through here, all the way through. And there's the New Madrid zone. But what I learned not so long ago by sitting and snooping around again, I wanted to find some more material because this subject is kind of like, it's endless. I could keep on, and I have for 3 years, kept on. And I will keep on and on and on. Because you need to understand what is happening. Your way of life is going to change. And this thing is going to be that paradigm shift that the webbot was predicting will happen to America. That all of you will stand still like you are paralyzed. This country will come to a complete standstill. And everybody will be on their knees mourning the dead. And that is where you are the most vulnerable. And that is when they're going to come for your guns and put you in camps. Look how they treated you under Katrina. Look how they're treating the people in New York City after Sandy. Like prisoners. Can you then imagine what's going to happen to you in a FEMA camp? You think you're going to have it any better? There is over 800 FEMA camps in America. I think they're contemplating something or expecting something. Well, why would they put up all these camps? For fear? No, they intend to freaking use them. Guess who built them? Dick Cheney. Halliburton. That's his company. They built the freaking FEMA camps. And he is the former what? Vice President of the United States of America. You see, we're dealing with some very powerful people. But what I found later in my research, and that is in 2012, I found this. So that's pretty much a long time ago, since the oil spill. But you know, I'm restless. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Take another zoom. Now, this is not the salt brine. This is an ancient tectonic plate sitting alone. It is not connected to the other ones. It's broken. It is a slab which is sitting by itself. It have a rift going through there, and it's certainly got a rift right there. And wow, what's going on there? Do you remember the location of the Gloria Dome and the Biloxi Dome? The Deepwater Horizon? I do. Right there. Right here we got an asphalt volcano. Right here we got a vast salt brine which is being dissolved right now. And on top of that, we got a big piece of land which is sitting by itself. And they know that. Because this picture would not exist if they did not know that. Of logic reasons. So, underneath this plate, a madman here on YouTube has informed me that there is a vast methane lake. And if I refer to, some of you might be fascinated by the webbot. So let me just repeat what the webbot said in 2010 in January when Cliff High came out with his webbot report. He said there would be an oceanic disaster in America. It happened, Gulf oil spill. He said methane clouds will rise. Big fat brown clouds of toxic methane gas. And underneath this plate is a massive, massive methane lake. And he said, and after that, there will be a paradigm shift in the United States of America. Paradigm shift. And so far, it's been pretty much right. Except we haven't seen the methane clouds yet. But that is a distinct possibility, and I will come to that too. So we take the next frame. Here's the cross section of the Gloria Dome. Here's the Texaco Regal sitting out here, drilling in very close proximity, straight through that rift I showed you. That is that rift, as I showed you here. Let me see if I can find that picture in a hurry. Should be able to. Let me see, go up. Okay, now it's beginning to annoy me. Isn't that typical? You don't want to when I want to. What's new? But you remember that little picture there? With the rift? That's that one. Right there. Right at the edge of that rift. They're drilling. So that is that plate. One of these two. One of these are that plate. And underneath that plate is a vast methane lake. So, Deepwater Horizon, plus the two relief wells, which have been drilled. So they have been drilling 5 holes right next to a salt dome. where there's also oil, but not a lot. But there is oil. But they have fractured this. They have compromised the integrity of the salt dome. And the water is going down and dissolving this 40-mile wide, 10,000 feet deep salt mountain, going in underneath the salt brine, dissolving all the salt. And I just explained to you, when the salt is dissolved, what's going to happen to the land above? It's going to sink down, equivalent to the thickness of the salt layer. So it's going to be very randomly how the end result is going to be when that sinks down. Depends on the thickness. And the oil and the pressure, because the pressure is very high here, is shooting the water mixed with a little oil in through the sedimentary layers in underneath North America, in underneath the Gulf Coast. Next frame. And here's the proof. What they did. See? They are bottom leasing 296, as I said, and surface leasing Well 252. This is not public, that they were drilling there. This is public, 252, but not 296. 296 is where Gloria Dome is. Why would they want to drill there? They were not looking for oil. Not at all. And see, we are talking about some high pressures. 5,500 psi. This is some serious stuff. Next frame. Drill depths for Deepwater Horizon Well A. 35,000 feet. No anchors. Absolutely no security regarding the drill site. No security. Not even a security officer were present. He was not needed. In that field, I hope I come to now, it says not here, if hydrocarbon-based drilling fluids were used, is drilling rig outfitted for zero discharge or zero discharge procedures to be followed? Not applicable. If requesting a waiver for conductor casing, have you submitted a log MMS in G&G with 500 feet of the proposed bottom hole location for the proposed surface casing point? Not applicable. Why is there no security here? Permit attachment, well design information. There is no attachment available. There is no well casing information available. Why is that? Because Deepwater Horizon from the beginning was doomed. It was put out there to do the damage. And now, sunk. Oh, that was a mistake. I actually needed to scroll up. And approval date was 9/26/2001. 2011, certificates for ABS. February, this is after the Gulf oil spill began, people. What's wrong with this picture? Deepwater Horizon is on the seafloor, blown up, sunk. How can they give a certificate after it's gone? Come on. Are you awake now? 35,000 feet. How much is that? 35,000 divided by 3. That's 11 miles, people. 11 miles. That's almost to the mantle. That means they drilled freaking all the way down to the floor of this salt brine. So apparently some 35,000 feet down is the salt brine. Down where in that area. Now we got approximate depths of the salt brine. How thick it is. Maybe it's 2,500 feet thick, because I'll come to some other numbers in a moment. Will be 35,000 feet down. Remarks, sunk. See, it doesn't say anything up to 252, or 269, or 296. It only refers to 252. Meaning you don't know where they're drilling. You think they're drilling there, but they're drilling a completely different place. It's not informed on the papers here. There's actually very scarce of information on this piece of paper. Bottom lease says that again, and that shows it's a lie. This paper shows this is a lie. They were drilling in 296. They were top leasing, surface leasing 252, but they were drilling in 296. So why are they saying that again? Bottom lease 252. Officially, that is a lie. Again, propaganda media lied to you. Next picture, also from Will B. Still, no information. Still the same type of security. There is no geological information available. Are you kidding me? Do you know how much security and regulations there is when it comes to deep sea drilling? This is a massive apparatus. That is not just something you go out and do. There is a lot of stuff in this. And there's a lot of stuff which is missing. Therefore I say Deepwater Horizon was sent out there to do the job and get sunk. Nothing else. It was destined to sink, and I call it Event Horizon. Beyond return. Damage done. We'll see. Now it becomes interesting. 37,500 feet. That is 2,500 feet deeper than the actual drill. And this was carried out by what platform? TO Development Driller. Singapore. Yeah. And again, no info. Nada. Will D. 35,000 feet. Scarce information. Again, lying here. 296 it just say. Surface 252. Bottom 296. Why does it say 252? Because they're lying to you. They are fiddling with the papers. If you have seen 296, you might just had woke up and said, what the heck? Wasn't it 252? No, you wouldn't. It takes a lot to wake up Americans, because nothing can go wrong in this good old America. Everything is fine. Business as usual. Nothing is fine, people. America is a test ground for Nazis. That's what it is. You're being experimented on every single day in your life. through the food you drink, through the water you drink, through the stuff they're spraying in our atmosphere, all the different things they are doing in secrecy they're not talking about. They're experimenting just like the Nazis did on the Jews. They're seeing how you react to it. They're conditioning you to worse situations. So in the end, you're so used to it that it won't really bother you. So when they come for you, you just say, yeah, okay, it's for my own good. It is not for your own good. They're going to come and get you to kill you. Just like the Jews. In this case, you just happen to be Americans. All the Nazi Germans came over here under the Operation Paperclip and were put in high positions in science without any court, no sentences. No, they were just let loose here in America. And they're still loose here in America. Now, what I have described so many times, I finally found the picture. Listen to me. This is this machine with these wires coming out. These are not, I repeat, not high pressure hoses. These are electrical cords going into that control module. Electrical cords. And the rovers from BP Oil Disasters video showed that these wires was going in all different directions. They were freaking scattered all over the place. These are electrical wires, people. Why do they operate with electricity in water? And what is this device? I say it's a control module for something else. Bella 33 have a video on her channel. I suggest you go watch. She's showing an image or a sequence where the seafloor is exploding. It is rising up and plunges in. They have detonated something up there. I have an idea why and where they did that. But this is electrical wires. I also had a video which I have in my comments confirmed from others that they remember I showed them that a massive huge thing looking like a monolith hanging apparently in a chain from a ship, and a bunch of wires like this, just like this, cords, wires, coming out of it and going in all weird directions. And this device that was hanging there probably still is, or maybe it's dropped on the seafloor now, I don't know. BP Oil Disaster is still following the rover's work, so maybe he can confirm what's happened to it. It looks like an electronic control device of some sort. Is it a control device to do a simultaneously detonation? I will come to why I believe in that. And here is why. YouTube have 2 times now. First time they did it, they took my channel 2010 the countdown down. They made me go away from YouTube. They called a copyright strike on that video. There was no copyright strike at all to be put in. It was something they were being told to do because I was telling them something. I was telling the world something which do not tolerate the day of light. The US Navy has since 1945 been dumping 30 million pounds of unexploded munitions, mustard gas from Hitler's Germany, phosgene gas, torpedoes, and God knows what, right where they were drilling. And I can assure you one thing. I don't have the piece of paper on me right now, but the PDF file, if anyone is interested, will find it there, that the US Navy were in charge of the drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. They were in charge, not BP. BP was just the hired gun. And in 2005, NOAA were ordered by the US Navy to conduct a complete 3D survey of the entire Gulf of Mexico. Why? Because they needed to know where they could do the most damage. Where is the most fragile point to hit to make it all do, as I have said for 3 years. The Gulf Coast is going down. America's going to be split in two. 30 million pounds of unexploded TNT is sitting on the seafloor right next to Gloria Dome, right next to Biloxi Dome, right on top of an ancient rift and plate, as I showed you. And why is they are doing their surgical incision there? Let me explain that. Go back here and hopefully I can find it fast. There it is. Let me click on it and show you. What would be the purpose of bringing the destruction right down? It's very obvious. Obviously. Okay, let's zoom in on it. It's working a little slow, but I guess you can live with that. Well, here is that rift, meaning that this plate is actually fractured in 3 pieces. One piece, center piece, right piece. And right here, sitting 30 million pounds of TNT. And with all these wires coming out of these modules, and not high pressure hoses to work the machinery, which is normally what they're using down there when they're using rovers and stuff. They're using pneumatics and not electricity, because there's a risk of shortage. Pneumatics don't matter, it's air pressure. If there's a leak, well, it doesn't short circuit and destroy the motherboards and all that stuff. It's pretty mechanical and pretty easy to work with. But there's wires coming out of these machines they have sitting down there. I say it is a control module to make a simultaneous detonation. Because if they do a detonation in this area here, a vast one, they will break this plate free. And that will make this plate being able to move. They're giving room for it. So it can slide over. Or whatever it's gonna do, I don't know. I can't see that. That's just, that you can call that an assumption from, a biologist. And sometimes you have to base your ideas on assumptions, and then you have to go in and see if your assumption is correct, if you can prove it correct. That's what science is. Proving assumptions. That's science. It's guesswork, and then they're trying to prove it. So right there we got 30 million pounds of unexploded munitions. And as I told you 2 times, YouTube has flunked me because of that information. So it is not YouTube which is telling them to do so, to get rid of my material. Someone else is doing that. And when I can tell you that, and I can prove that to you, that they have done that twice, don't you think they got something to hide? Something serious? Why would they want to go do that? On that specific information, that there is 30 million pounds of unexploded munitions down there. They haven't touched any of the other videos, but only that one. Only that one. But I have the link to that web page, and I'm not going to put it up. If anyone wants it, send me a private message, and you can freaking read it yourself and get the truth. Because I ain't going to post the link. I ain't going to give Google that pleasure to go find that link and destroy the connection to it. I want you to be able to see it for yourself. So now I'm posting on it as I promised. That is what they have down there. 30 million pounds. That is a lot. That can create some serious damage. Or at least a massive tsunami. Can you imagine that? Detonated at the same time? That would be just as good as a nuclear bomb. Imagine that. Do you begin to follow the picture now? But why did they do all this? I will come to that as the conclusion. First of all, I will go back to where I came from, because I'm not quite done. I've still got a few pictures left to show you. So we were there. Coming up in a second. Yep, there we are. And let's get to it. Unexploded torpedoes. Oh. Dump site discontinued industrial waste. Wow, they're just dropping in the ocean, you know. They don't care, you know. Out of sight, out of mind. And these are the people you put your trust in to defend and protect your country. Eisenhower warned you about the military-industrial complex in his resignation speech. He warned you because he knew what they were up to. And indeed, they're up to something. And I have to prove them right in their face. And I enjoy to have that. To show you how devious and insidious they are. I would not trust anyone wearing a uniform as a high-rank officer in this country. I would look at him with lifted eyebrows. Who are you? Are you one of the good ones? Or are you the one I need to shoot to survive? You get my point. These people are against you. They are Nazis. They are trained in the Nazi warfare. They're here to destroy you and your way of life and civilization as we know it. That's the plan. New World Order. But something has to come before that, before New World Order can come into fruition. And now the conspiracy stuff, which I promised not to, but they want a gun ban. But they ain't gonna get a gun ban and get your guns without a civil war. I know that for a fact. It will not happen. But what they can get your guns with is a massive disaster like this. And you would be more than willing to give up every right you have and everything you have for a meal, for a blanket, and a tent to sleep in. That is the paradigm shift of America. Do you follow now? They cannot come out and take your guns. All this blah, blah, blah they're talking about in the propaganda news media, about stricter rules and a universal scrutiny of people who want guns and banning of high-capacity clips from and assault rifles and stuff. It is all distraction. They got something much more efficient in play here. much more efficient. And that is why I'm telling you, no matter what happens, how terrible it is, that piece of firearm you have, you hold that in your hand or within arm's reach to protect yourself and your family. That's an order from a former soldier. People, that's an order. You do not give it up. That's the way they can get you. And they will. Now another subject, fracking. Well, shale gas layers. This is here where they get all the, natural gas. And there's a lot of fracking going on up along the New Madrid line because there is a lot of deposits there. Natural reasons. There was once an ocean going through here. And it is giving the reason for methane gas buildup. Layers, the sediments, the methane gas is coming from ancient biological life forms, which has been buried, and now it's turned into gas, and they're harvesting that. But how they're doing the fracking is they're taking a pipe, drilling down into the crust, into the limestone, and after that they're pumping 596 different unknown chemicals into that crust under very, very high pressure. It breaks apart the shale layers, crushing it, making it into pretty much peanut brittle. You know what peanut brittle is. You slap it once and it breaks. That gas, which is released by cracking the rock, your bedrock, the ground you're walking on, your bedrock, is releasing the gas into your aquifers, meaning into your drinking water. And from there, they are tapping the gas out in vents and putting in canisters. But they're not selling it to you. I don't know where it goes to. We still buy it from the Arabs, our resources from the fossils, as they call it. Crude oil is not fossil fuel. It's an abiotic fuel. It is a substance which Earth is creating itself. It has nothing to do with dead animals. That is another lie. To create the idea that there is a limit to how much oil there is, so they can keep the prices up and control the people. Crude oil is abiotic. It is not fossil. Russians have proved that, and they have even publicized it. But in America, they don't talk about that. They talk about its fossil fuel, which is a lie, another lie. Well, this is how that looks like. So they're cracking the very ground you're walking on, making it into peanut brittle or into a cracker. You know what happens to a cracker if you put your thumb on it and press? Broken. Destroyed. That is what's happening in all these fields. Your subterranean is being destroyed, crushed, with 596 different, probably very toxic chemicals, with very high pressure, breaking up your ground to release the gas into your drinking water. They got a huge problem down here with the methane coming out of their faucets. You can put a lighter to it and burst into flames the water, because there's gas in the water, methane gas in their drinking water. Do you think it's healthy to drink that water? Well, you know that methane gas will kill you if you breathe it. Do you think it's then advisable you drink that water? No. But do they tell you about that? No. They come out and say to you that that is pretty safe. There is nothing to worry about. What about the 596 different chemicals? Do you think that's safe to drink? Do you think it's completely purified at the water stations? I don't think so. They put fluoride in your drinking water, which is rat poison, which is highly toxic. It's one of the most toxic substances known to man. That put that in your drinking water. Plus 596 different chemicals in the fracking industry to your drinking water. Do you think your drinking water is good to drink? I don't think so. Sorry, I don't think so. No wonder why Americans are sick, terminal ill. That's why everyone here is sick. This country is sick people. They're experimenting on you. They don't care about you. What they care about is their power and their money and their possessions. Well, a lot of Americans are also in that boat. They only care about their possession and not their neighbors and how they're doing. Well, they will pay the price for that, for being like that, oblivion, and left their spiritual values, and think that believing in crystals and running around with crystals around their neck is going to protect them from evil. I don't think so. I would like to see you hang on to your crystal when this piece of land is going into the ocean. You think that crystal will save you? No, but Jesus will. Okay, that's where I stand, in my view. Jesus will save you, and not a freaking crystal, and not Buddha, and not Allah. And here, this is the gas production in that region, right? You see that? It's pretty consistent with the salt brine, isn't it? Well, I'm going to show you this. See, this is big industry. There's a lot of it. So think about how much pollution there is in your own country you're living in, people, and how little they care about your health and your safety. All they care about is their dough, their money, and their power. This is the conveyor belt. I'll come to that now. Here, in 2010, June 12th, an Italian scientist, which we have not heard from since that day, he announces these pictures taken from a satellite in space, and he's showing that your Gulf loop current is dead. It is no longer existing. Well, you will say, I don't believe in that. Okay, I'll show you. It's right here. It's one of my playlist videos. There's no sound or anything. It's not needed. The pictures speak louder than 1,000 words. This sequence I will show you too, you just saw, that pertains to the mud volcano. So let's roll the movie if it wants to. I hope so. Now see what's happening. Now, rolling. This is your loop current. See that? It is no longer pumping hot water up to the southeast part of Greenland, which is driving the conveyor belt, which is driving the ocean currents. It is destroyed, and that is why Europe is freezing over now. I wrote that to the world press, that they should prepare their European people, that they will have terrible times coming now. Insane weather. And we have now insane weather all over the planet because the Gulf Stream is the rudder. It is steering the jet stream. And the jet stream now is divided up in 3 sections because the Gulf loop current is gone. It's destroyed. The thermohaline boundary between the hot and the cold water in the Gulf of Mexico that drive this heart, this pump, is destroyed. And if you don't have the thermohaline boundary, you can't keep the cold water and the hot water separated. And that is what you see here. It's gone. It's gone. And I don't believe it's the Corexit. Something else is destroying the Gulf loop current. I don't know what it is, but something is doing it. And this poor Italian scientist have not spoken since August 2010. No one knows where he is. I have looked for him. He's gone. Like Matt Simmons says, he's gone. A.C. Griffith is dead too. I used to talk a lot on Intelhub with him. I also talked privately with him about this situation. He had a lot of knowledge. He was a very smart man. He's dead too. So that's what you're looking at. And I told you in 2010 when I saw that, I was shocked. I said to you, you will have a extinction level event, depopulation. You will have an ice age. They're going to freeze you to pieces. Just look at that. It is no longer there. It's running with half the force of what it used to do. See, we have a problem, Houston. A big problem. Well, now we are with the video sequences. Let me show you the fake oil spill. Let me take this one off so it doesn't bang out on the internet anymore. Here it is. This is the so-called riser at the seafloor. This is propaganda news, CNN, presenting this lie to you. And this one is closing now. Doom. And here is where that link is, but that one I will not reveal because I don't want to give Google the chance to go find it and destroy it. No. This time I'm going to keep the upper hand, Google. Now what's this? Watch where the needle is, or my cursor is. Watch closely there. Very closely, right there. See what's happening. This is supposed to look like a rover, right? It's hovering around in the water looking at this crude oil coming out. I call it a fish tank because watch closely how they're lying to you. And I'm amazed you didn't see it. But yet not. Whoa, what the heck was that? Did you see that? There was a man standing there. You see that? The carpet went up. Ouch. And now the SpongeBob comes up. This is a so-called, looking like some sea plant life. Look at the current here. It's going in both directions. The current at the seafloor is not going in both directions. It's going very steadily. But look at this sponge and this stick. And then they do a flop. And it's a stick sitting on the rover. Sponge on a stick with red duct tape to make it look like you are down at the seafloor. And if you look at the ocean current, this is going a little chippy, unfortunately. But if you look at it, you can see the current is going back and forward. That's only what's happening at the sea level, at the surface, that the current is like that, because water is moving in over the beach and running out again. But down there, the current is very stable. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. This is your future. It is. And this is the solution to your problem. Do you follow now? This man can make everything grow in any kind of soil he wants to. I'm not kidding you. He can. But that food is non-nutritious. It's going to give you cancer and mutations in your genes. It's going to kill you. GMO foods is lethal. I know about that because I had genealogy as specialty when I was going as biologist, because I found that was extremely interesting, gene modified, and I mean all research are showing that GMO is dangerous. It is not something we should meddle with. This will eventually kill us. And now, then you gotta wonder why it is that Rockefeller and Bill Gates, in a hurry, in less than 2 years, managed to put up 2 seed vaults, one in Norway and one in Svalbard, which is also Norway, with all the world's seeds, original seeds. And now here in America, all the wheat which is in your bread is GMO. All the corn you're buying is GMO. And you love your bread, hamburgers, pizza, fast food. And wheat is used as stabilizers in a lot of processed foods, in which America is a big consumer of. No wonder why you're sick. You're deadly sick, and you will die eventually because of what you ingest. And the Nazis know that. They're using you as guinea pigs. Just like Joseph Mengele. On the outside world, they are pretending that they are trying to do what is best in your interest. But in reality, they're killing you. They're killing you, people. And that is not a conspiracy. Go read the science about GMO. It is lethal. It will kill you. And that's the end of story. Now, back to the pictures. This is depressing. There it is. It's a gruesome world we're living in. Controlled by 6,000 people. And now, in case of all this Corexit, which is said to be had sprayed down into the water, and all this oil that should have been in the water, according to NOAA, right? 5.76 times the size of India. This is the Gulf current. Can you imagine the devastation that would have been? No, if they had done that, they would have had the whole world against them. They would have woke up the people, I can assure you that. They would not put up with America did that. Someone would have attacked America for doing that. Bombed them, nuked them, something to punish it. Not you people, but for those who did it. They don't think like that. They just react emotionally. And when people react emotionally, they're very irrational and dangerous. So this plan didn't work too good. But the Gulf current, loop current, is dead. And therefore, Europe is freezing to pieces. And now, I did some superimposing of some pictures just to illustrate. This is the salt brine I was talking about. Look how immense it is. Look how big it is. Listen, people, when this happens, Louisiana will be gone. Everything gone. All of it. Gone. You live there, you die. You live in that zone on the mainland. You die. Another superimposing with another layer on coming up, I believe, today. There. This is the famous picture I've showed you for so many times now. This is after the split of America. Illinois gone, half of Missouri is gone, half of Arkansas, 1/5 of Tennessee is gone, much of Indiana is gone, some of Kentucky is gone, Louisiana all gone, some of Alabama is gone, some of Texas gone, and Florida Panhandle gone. But if it goes real bad, all that will be gone too. This part of the land is going to sink down and flood the entire area completely. And I don't want to talk about Edgar Cayce because I know he was not in the right tune with God, but he said something. He said that the East Coast will be in main parts submerged permanently. He talked about a temporary flooding of New York City. Could that be Sandy? Because that was a temporary flooding. And he was talking about a permanent flooding, especially containing North Carolina and South Carolina. In the main will be gone. If that is gone, Florida is gone. That is lowland. It is very lowland. Extreme lowland. Just like Louisiana. Another superimposed picture. I'm not looking at that up there. That's not necessary. This is what I'm talking about. What happens over here? Well, that's another story, which I don't know too much about. And I'm not going to look at it. Now, this is the third layer. With the US map submerged, with the salt brine, and with all the fracking. Houston, we have a problem. You see that? Not only are they fracturing your subterranean, the salt is also being dissolved and destroyed. You see the problem? This problem is beyond comprehension. Now I put the ancient plate on top of it to illustrate even more and prove to you even more that impending danger there is in this area. Let's see if this one is also a superimposed. I think it is. Yeah. Here, this is what I just did today after finding that picture. So we're lagging to the end of my video. Thank goodness. It's been taking a long time, but this is necessary to show for you to understand what is going on and what will happen. And it will all to you look like it's a natural event because they are making it in to feel and look from any angle as a natural event. They're letting nature do the work. All they need to do is cut in the right spot. Now watch that. Now you have an idea of the extent of this salt, how it is, where it is. This is the best I could kind of put it together to make Louisiana being the exact same size as the picture on top of it. So this is your salt problem, and here Deepwater Horizon were. Next frame. Now I put the volcano in. Come on. Today. You don't like it. Eventually it will show. Come on, computer. It's taking so long. It's coming now. You just need to figure it out. But as you can already see here in the little blow up here, all the salt, the asphalt volcano, oh, that was too much, sitting in there, massive volcano, salt layer, oh, the high areas of salt domes, salt deposits, Now we go take the next frame. This is with the salt brine on top of it. Oh, come on. One more time. So you can see the consistency in what I'm showing you. It all fit, hand in glove, all of it. If you after this video are still in doubt of my integrity and what I'm talking about and calling me a fearmonger, I just want you to get off my channel. I don't want to have anything to do with you because you're utterly blind and don't want to see the truth. Then you will have to feel the truth. I don't need you because there's nothing you can deny here. There's absolutely nothing you can disprove here. I've been looking for this for 3 years. There is nothing you can say or do that can disprove or even dismiss this. And dismissal is disrespect. Being dismissal is very negative in a human. Something I really detest in people. Dismissal. That means you don't even want to hear the truth. The ancient plate put on top of all of it, and the last picture of these highlights or superimposed is the fracking zones. So you can see that what I'm saying is holding water and salt and volcano and ammunition all together. It all fits perfect. They know exactly what they were doing up there. Why do you think YouTube bumps me off 3 times? And only because of my Gulf oil spill work. Don't that also tells you something? That must mean that I'm freaking dead on. I know exactly what's going on there. BP oil disaster. He knows what's going on the seafloor because he's following that. I'm more interested in the geological part and the humanitarian part of it because I'm deeply worried about you Americans. Deeply worried. Because you are a nation in complete denial. Complete denial. Because the propaganda media has formed your opinion. And that is why you're still living down there, because if you will listen to what I'm saying, you would be fleeing. You would be gone from there. And that little mass murder idea would not come into fruition. It will fail. You see, it all fits. All of it. I think that is the last picture of them. So here we got the ancient plate. We got, you can barely see it, but you can still see this is the salt brine. All the red you see here, the spotted areas here, that is the fracking. And in this area here and up there, these 2 points and this point up here, that is where the salt domes are closest to the surface. And as you see, the New Madrid line is going straight down through there. Do you think it's kind of consist with all of it? I do. I have no shadow of a doubt that this is going to go down. And they're going to set it off themselves. They're going to blow it up. But you won't see the explosion. You will just feel the tremor. And then it'll be too late. Why are they doing this? Profit. Buy you corn. Right there. See, it's connected. Do I have another one? Remember that? Where were all the evidence that your government said to you, that they will present to you about what took place on 9/11? Have you ever been presented the truth? And don't you still find it amazing that these two massive steel structures were polarized like they were? They defied gravity when they fell, but freaking 18 passports survived the fire, the collapse, so they could point at some Arabs, so they could get their war on terror ongoing. One of their cards in their world order agenda. These 18 passports were inside the airplane. They would have been incinerated by this intense heat that melted the steel that caused the collapse, right? Paper survived, but not the steel. Are you awake? Are you still in denial? I hope you are. And then there's this one. I don't want to read it up. You can pause it here. And I'll just jump on to the next one. And this next picture is how I feel. And this is how I hope you will feel now. Like that. I'm pissed off. Literally. I'm not kidding. I'm angry. But now I'm going to show you something else. To prove my point. Over here, I have a PDF of a plan for Louisiana mega harbor in the United States. They intend to dredge out or carve out the existing rivers, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 rivers, combined 2,800 miles. They're going to carve out to give room to large ships, especially ships from the oil industry. But they have to dig the Louisiana Harbor project. They will have to dredge 55 feet down. And they will have to continue doing that again and again and again and again and again. And it will be a logistical problem to where to put all that stuff they are pulling up to keep your rivers at the right depths and keep the Louisiana Delta at the right depths at 55 feet. The rivers has to go from 16 to 22 feet depths in order to house the ships. And there's also plans of a harbor in Kansas City. Yes, you heard correct. Kansas City. How are you going to get a ship up there? Well, if you blow the Madrid line up, there's your access. And you don't have to dredge anything out. Nature did it all for you. You have a massive, what do you call it? Cut. You will have it just like the Mariana Trench. You will have a trench. That's what you would have. Splitting America. A deep trench. So they would not have to carve or dig out 2,800 miles, 16 to 22 feet, or 55 feet to maintain the harbors anytime soon. All that work is unnecessary because it's already done. You get me? Do you know how much money it costs to dredge out this much? There will be a financial nightmare to keep these rivers sailable by big ships, maintaining and where to put all that silt stuff they're sucking up from the bottom. And the rivers will always change. They always change. Especially when we have had flash flooding, the rivers change because of all the debris and the high current. They are constantly changing. So they will have to constantly maintain these 12 rivers, constantly. And the Mississippi Delta, because the stuff will run out into there. Because all these lakes, or all these rivers, are connected to the Mississippi, leading out to the Mississippi Delta. Now, 2,800 miles, just to give you a little idea how insane that is. Going over to the other one. Look at that. Excluding Alaska, the US and Canadian border is 3,987 miles. Now, people, do you think for one moment that they're going to maintain 2,800 miles? Now, what is the easiest thing to do? Blow it up, and it's all done for you. Are we on the same page still? Still this link. You want that link? Don't worry, I'm going to check who you are. If you don't have anything on your channel, you're faceless, you won't get the link. Because I can't see who you are. I have no clue of who you are. You might just be that troll. See, I trust no man, and I make sure no man deceive me. Where are you in this? That's the question. That is the big, big question. Now I have invited you in. I have shown you the proof. I have given you the biological, geological proof of how everything is situated and how everything is working together and depending on each other. Then, if you really wanted going very deep in detail, this would be a good place to start. I will also encourage you to go to BP Oil Disaster and Super Delta Bravo 1, and also take a look at Arabella 33's rover videos, and especially that one where the seafloor is blowing up. Go sniff around on my channel and Arabella's and Super Delta Bravo 1 and BP Oil Disaster. You see, now we are having a distraction coming in here on the internet. Someone who very, very fast got a crap load of subscribers and a crap load of views. I've been on here much longer than she have. Much longer. And all of a sudden, this person is babbling about some freaking Tesla tech array sitting on the seafloor in the Gulf of Mexico. Distracting you, blinding you with words of wisdom from the Bible. There's another dude here on YouTube who's doing the same thing while he's stealing your material and calling it his own stuff. And he seemed to be a Pharisee. You work with him and he will backstab you. Stay away from him, he's dangerous. So is she. She's leading you astray too. I don't care, miss, whatever you are. I don't care how angry you get by hearing this. When the rumors comes to you that I'm talking about you, you are a false prophet. You have absolutely no proof. You have absolutely no ground proof. You have absolutely no evidence of any of your claims. Are you done distracting and lying to the people? I suggest you should be. Because I'm the person who don't put up with false prophets. Anyone on this forum, YouTube, which is coming out with horrendous lies like a TTA array down there, I'm gonna expose them. You can bet on it. I'm gonna be right on your butt. And I will look at everything you make. And if you slip up, I will be the first one to point you out. Like I did with another person, which is strikingly remind me of you. It seems like you two know each other. I don't sit here and babble scriptures. That is not my deal. I will let Paul Bakley do that. Or Pastor Dave do that. Because they are pastors. I am not a pastor. I am a scientist. And I'm looking at the real evidence. Real evidence. Real evidence. And not some fleeting TTA array. You know, something mysterious is down there, making sure that the new Madrid line is going to go off. How dare you? How dare you? I don't even know who you are. I have no clue of who you are. I never heard about you until a few weeks ago. So where do you come from? Stick to the evidence, like I do, presenting the evidence found on the internet for everyone else to go backtrack on me if they want, and they will find the same as I'm finding. All you find is something on Google Earth that looks like a hexagram, and then you completely, out of nowhere, claim that that is a TTA array. Show me diagrams. Show me proof. I don't want to hear any word anymore of this TTA. You have nothing. And you're gaining all the views for sitting there and misleading the people. Shame on you. Yes, I point on you. Because I detest persons like that. And I'm going to point at them every time. Every single time. So help me God. And he's pointing, the Holy Spirit is tapping on my shoulder and telling me that you are a fraud. Like your friend, Robert Hauck. Both of you are frauds. And I don't understand that people want to listen to this gossip from yours. I don't get it. Because you don't present evidence. You just come with claims. And the other one is coming with claims too. But he's stealing at the same time. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. And you both are doing that. So that's the end of that. I don't put up with that. I'm here to speak the truth. Okay? Because this is about people and not my personal fame. I'm in the same boat as everyone else. My life is in just as much peril as the rest. But you sit there and spreading lies and claiming something elusive is there. No evidence. I suggest you shut your mouth. And then you get down to business and do what you are supposed to do. And that is to stand watch. And you blow the horn when you're absolutely sure, when you can prove. If you can't prove with facts and evidence, Don't blow that horn, because I'm going to stuff it full of mud so it never blows again. That's why I am with you people. I've had enough of your kind. You do not serve mankind. You serve yourself, and you will end in hell for that. God hates pride. Hate pride. And that is why he hates Lucifer, because he's a prideful little bastard. Question is, who is your God? Very good question. People know who I'm talking about. People who are invited know exactly who I'm talking about. And if anyone out there who is uninvited wants to know, ask those who are invited who I'm talking about. And they will leave you until you come to your senses and stop lying and stop stealing and stop copying, because you're doing a piss poor job in that too. Okay, that was the rant. So now you have the evidence, and now you can go watch the playlist here too, to have videos from back then where it all began in 2010 and all the way up to today. All that is for you to watch. And here are much more details than I've been in this video. This video I just made now is to summarize everything the best way I can, in order for you to at least have your appetite stimulated to go look for some more. And I just addressed some channels, which is BP Oil Disaster, and it's Super Delta Bravo 1, it is Arabella 33, and your host here, who have what you need to look at. Everything you need to look at. And that should, by looking at those 4 different, should give you an idea that what I have just said to you, and what BP Oil Disaster is saying to you, what Super Delta Bravo is saying to you, and what Arabella 33 said to you because she's not around anymore, is the truth. And nothing but the truth. So help me God. And to you out there, please wake up. God bless you.